All right, Shabbat Shalom, good Shabbos. The Torah portion is Naso, which means it's Hanukkah, because we always do Hanukkah. Why? Because Hanukkah is a post-biblical holiday. It takes place in 168 BCE when the Syrians, these are not Syrians from Syria, these are Syrians from Lebanon, come sweeping down and conquer the land of Israel. I wouldn't say conquer because the Israelites didn't have much of a standing army to begin with. But I don't want to talk about Hanukkah. I'll tell you real quick with the Naso thing. Okay, because the rabbis who put together, it wasn't the rabbis, it was the Sofer, it was the scribes who put together the list of Torah readings. There is a book of Maccabees. There are two books of Maccabees, but they didn't make it into the Hebrew Bible because they were sucking up to the Romans. So getting back to the Torah, they chose Naso because Naso deals with the dedication of the Mishkan, the sanctuary in the wilderness. And what happens is that every day for 12 days, each Israelite tribe brings an offering to dedicate the Mishkan. The problem is this, as far as I see it. See, our ancestors loved repetition. I know I tell the same jokes more than once, and I am not the only one here guilty of that. But our ancestors, you couldn't, it's like little kids with a fairy tale before they go to sleep. This was their only means of entertainment, if you think about it. When I talk to my kids in school about this, how do you guys entertain yourselves? They have television, they have computers, they have the cell phone. The cell phone is not really a phone. It's a computer that makes phone calls on the side. But getting back to this, so in that section of Naso, it describes each and every offering that the Israelites brought to the Mishkan, to the sanctuary. The problem is they do it 12 times, because how many tribes are there? Right. So every single day for 12 paragraphs they repeat. And the tribe of Dan brought 6 sheep, 12 cows, 14 pigeons, and a partridge in a pear tree. And you've got to read that every day of Hanukkah. So that's a big part of Naso. The other part of Naso honestly reads more like Leviticus, like Vayikra, because it describes all the various offerings made in the Holy Temple. And I prepared one for you because I think it is very bizarre. It is known as the wave offering. And what happens is the high priest, apparently there were no vegan high priests in those days. They were totally carnivorous, even though, I have to tell you, they ate a lot less meat than we did. Because if you've got Elsie or Huckabuck, and what are you going to do? You're going to kill them once and get a steak and the breast of chicken? Or you're going to leave them alive so they can give you milk and cheese and the chicken will give you eggs, unless it's a rooster, in which case, well, whatever. You see what I'm saying? So they ate a lot less meat than we did. But when they did eat meat, you had to give a percentage to the Levites and the Kohanim, that is the Levites and the priests. And I love this one, because apparently they ate a lot of boiled meat. I think this is probably where Flanken came from, okay? And they would have a big pot full of water, obviously. As you know, I am a 5-star chef, and honestly, I have no idea how to cook, really. I can boil water, but, okay. What do I do with the water? I put a tea bag in it. Okay.
One tea bag? You do know how to do that, right?
Yeah, well, my mother would give it 3 dips. My old man would reuse tea bags. I would come into the kitchen, he had a little clothesline with tea bags on it in various stages of drying out. So, Dad, what are you doing? He says, never mind, it's still good. Okay, so there you are, and your flank, this is either the right or the left. You know, my knowledge of cow anatomy is not what it ought to be, so I depend on Dr. Lichtenstein to help me out here. Okay? Anyway, you would take the thigh of the cow and you would raise it up. Let's assume it's not hot. Let's assume they let it cool off. and you would wave it. It was called the Korban Tnufa, literally the sacrifice, the offering of waving. And you would, I'm holding the thigh of a cow, right? That must be pretty hefty, okay? And I wave it towards me, and I wave it towards the congregation. I wave it towards me because who's going to eat it? If I'm a Kohen. Right. I wave it towards the congregation because who brought it?
They did.
The congregation. This is actually the origin of those guys on aircraft carriers who land jets. Not too many people know that. I'm sure that the guys on the aircraft carriers put the cow down. All right. So that's really that's not so. I really want to talk about Samson. I got to tell you about Samson. Okay. Yes. So I may not get that far because this is a family service.
Children.
Okay, yes, okay. Now, first you have to know a little background here. You've got, after Solomon dies, the kingdom that his father slapped together in such haste falls apart twice as fast. In the north, you've got the kingdom of Israel. In the south, you have the kingdom of Judah. I always remember that because SJ also stands for Society of, well, never mind. Okay, see, it works. Okay, so Paul, we already did the flunking.
Oh, that's
part.
not mine.
I'm sorry. Do we flunking?
Are we up to Samson yet?
Yes, right on the money, right on the nose. Okay.
My money's on Jeshua.
Yes. Okay. Everybody likes Delilah. Okay. We don't even know if Delilah was a Philistine. She may have been a camp follower. It sounds to me like she followed more than camps, or she followed a lot of camps. Okay. Why are we picking on her? She was very liberated. I mean, she was the first double agent in the entire Hebrew Bible. Think about it. You know, while Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah are home cooking the flanken, she's out there with all sorts of daring do. I always wanted to use that in a sermon. What exactly is daring do?
I was going to ask you, what is daring do?
Daring do. That's what...
He does whatever he wants.
Well, he's daring as he does it. Okay. All right, so the Assyrians come down.
Daring does whatever he wants.
I always do this line from Byron. The Assyrian came down like a wolf on the fold, and his cohorts were gleaming in purple and gold, and the sheen of his spears were like stars on the sea when the blue wave rolls nightly on deep Galilee. Galilee's not too deep, as a matter of fact. They have a terrible water shortage. Is that true? Have you been recently?
I was there last year.
Yes. Was the water line fairly low?
The water line was pretty low.
Oh, it was? Oh, it's back. Okay, Galilee's back. Okay, anyway. So the Assyrians conquer the northern. This is the 7th century BCE. Okay, the Christians say before Christ. We say before the Christian era or before the Common Era. One of my Hebrew school kids said before the Common Error. All right. Anyway, well, hey, why not? Okay. So it's the 7th century, and after the Assyrians conquered the northern tribe, the refugees from what used to be the northern kingdom of Israel come down into the southern kingdom of Judah. And they bring with them the worship of the one true God. Who is this one true God? Multiple choice. Adonai, my Uncle Irving, or Elohim. You can go with Elohim. All right. And this is a good thing, because there's a new king on the throne of Judah. His name is Josiah, Yoshia. And he is a religious reformer. Now, generally, you got to watch out for those religious reformers. But he's good. He's very careful to restore the worship of Judaism, and people are getting along fairly well. And this is the period, actually the 7th century, when you have what they call the Deuteronomists, okay? This is a guy or people, more than one guy, who believe that, number one, you got to have a king, because if you got a king, you're okay, because the king calls the shots. And number two, you've got to worship God, because if you worship God, then God will guide the king and hopefully protect us from Babylonia, which is the next up-and-coming neighborhood villain. Did it work? No, it didn't. But hey, we never give up. We never give up. So around this time, you've got Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, 1 and 2 Samuel. And the Deuteronomistic historian is supposedly, he composed all of these books. So Deuteronomy really isn't part of the Torah. It's kind of stuck on as a caboose, and the other books are important as well. I love Samuel. I mean, Samuel is a control freak from way back. But let's focus on the judges. There are 12 judges, but not all of them have adventures or careers that are worth writing down, because this fellow, the Deuteronomist, he doesn't bother writing them down. The ones who are important are Gideon. Anybody know about Gideon? I had a bar mitzvah boy named Gideon. Now he's working in city government in San Francisco. Okay, did you know Gideon lived in San Francisco? Not too many people know that.
You talk about
That's what I said.
Yes. Oh, right, thank you. The other one is Yiftach. The other one is Jephthah, and I'm not going to give that one away. That is remarkably tragic. Okay, I'm just throwing out the what do they call that? No, just throwing out the hook. And Deborah. Deborah is the most dynamic woman in either the Hebrew or the Christian Bible. I love this woman. I would marry this woman because she's too dynamic for me. You know, I have to pace myself with the dynamics. She's a poet. She's a warrior. She's a judge. She's a prophet. You can't do better than that. Really. I mean, I don't know if she could cook though. Anyway, but I'm going to focus on Samson, because Samson has likewise all of the accoutrements of a judge. Now, keep in mind, these guys are not judges like you meet in traffic court, okay? This is not Judge Judy. They aren't really judges. The Hebrew word, now in modern Hebrew, shofet means a judge. But back in those days, it is a charismatic leader. What happens is that it's a series of ups and downs. The Israelites worship God, they practice charity, they do the right thing, everything's fine. But inevitably, the Jews backslide and they start imitating their, I won't say Gentile because there aren't Gentiles yet, pagan neighbors. And having polytheism, you worship many gods, you have an orgy now and again because, well, like I've said in the past, orgies are very easy to throw. Don't bother getting dressed. I'll bring the chips, you bring the dip, here's the guacamole, we're really okay. Do they have guacamole in Israel? They do. That's amazing. Okay, with hummus in it. All right. So apparently the Israelites are in trouble, and the villain of the moment is the Philistines. Now the Philistines have come in for some knocks. I can't say. Well, they are historical. You can prove that they lived. They came possibly from the island of Crete, so they are not Semitic. Okay, is that correct, Doc?
Not Semitic, but probably not necessarily from Crete.
Not Crete.
The Greek islands.
The Greek islands. They were from Scythia.
Generally.
Yes, they were from Santorini. They were from Athens. You can wait. You can hear the bouzouki playing. Okay. Did you know the Philistines invented the bouzouki?
No.
After this, we have to do the dance from Zorba. Okay. So the Philistines come to town, and they have a strategic advantage over the Israelites. The Israelites are still in the Bronze Age. Now, bronze is sharp and hard, but iron is much better.
It's also heavy.
Bronze is heavy? Oh, okay. I understand you considered trading in a few odds and ends for a bronze sword.
No, but a steel sword, an iron sword, the same length would be lighter than a bronze sword.
Oh, see? So the Philistines knew this. The other story, and this is in the Tanakh, you can believe it or not, the Hebrew Bible. When the Philistines come to town, they immediately either kidnap or entice every blacksmith in the neighborhood to come along with them. So they're giving the Israelites some trouble. Now we come to Manoah, who is from the tribe of Dan, and his wife, who is the most important person in the story, and her name is... We don't know, because she's a woman. Why should we name her? So I always call her Mrs. Manoah, okay? I mean, you could call her Sylvia, all right? Anyway, one day, Mrs. Manoah is puttering around the house, and her problem is infertility. And when a woman is infertile, whom do they blame? A woman, of course. You're not going to blame Manoah for, shooting blanks. But the point is, she's minding her business, and all of a sudden she has an annunciation, very similar to that which happens a few centuries later. So you see the idea of annunciation. The angel comes down and says, "Hey, I'm an angel," and he doesn't joke around about it the way the three angels who come to visit Abraham do, because the three angels who come to visit Abraham, all of whom are Peter O'Toole, they never exactly say we're angels. Okay, this guy says, "I'm an angel. God sent me, and behold," it always helps if you throw in a couple of beholds. In 9 months from now, you will give birth to a baby, obviously, and this baby is going to be treated very specially, because back in the Torah reading, they talked about a Nazarite. This is not a Nazarene. A Nazarene is a Christian, a follower of Jesus of Nazareth. This is a Nazarite. Now, what are Nazarites not allowed to drink? Wine.
We talk about that.
Good, perfect. Thank you for setting
some
it up.
other herbs also. There were some kind of drugs.
Drugs?
Not drugs, as we know.
Medications.
No, not drugs.
Herbs, he said.
Herbs. Herbs.
Some other herbs.
Marijuana.
You were not allowed to have
They were
herbs?
not allowed.
No oregano on the pizza?
Marijuana.
Okay. Well, anyway, the other thing they're not allowed to do is go to the barber. Okay? Now, generally, if you're a Nazarite, you take the oath of Nazariteship for 30 days, which I think is long enough, after which my father says, "David, get a haircut." But, I got a story about that, but not about me, my crazy friend Jerry. All right. So he's going to be a Nazarite his entire life, which means he can't go very far without tripping over his hair. But, what what power does he have?
Strength.
Super strength, which is actually where Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster got the idea when they invented Superman. Okay, Superman is very biblical, and we know for a fact that Superman is Jewish. Why? Because he came from a distant place.
Came from Krypton.
He came from Krypton, which is a long ways away. Okay, he changed his name. He picked out the most wasp name possible, Clark Kent, and he's dating a Gentile girl. So why should he not be Jewish? Okay. So anyway, the angel says you're going to have a baby, and he disappears, or he goes back up to where angels live. And just then, Manoach comes home. Now, you should know, Manoach is not the sharpest knife in the drawer. His wife says, guess what? While you were away, an angel came down from heaven and said we're going to have a baby. Yay! Aren't you thrilled? He says, I don't believe you. It's not uncommon, but it does extend the story. He says, I want to see him myself. So, I don't know, the next day, the next hour, whatever it is, angel comes back, angel says the same story. Angel calls him on the cell, and the angel says, oh, wait. Manoach says, if you give me a few minutes, I can run to the flock and grab a lamb and kill it for you, and we'll make you an offering, and you can have some lunch. And the angel says, it's very poetic, he says, though you delay me, I will not eat your meat. I am an angel of the Lord, and I must be about my business. Or words to that effect. So he's born, and he proceeds to have his adventures, which are very strange. He's a very controversial hero, so much so that John Milton, the well-known 17th century poet whom nobody reads anymore, I studied him in school, wrote yes.
I love Milton.
You love Milton? That's nice. It's a very Jewish name, Milton. Okay, no, it's John Milton. Okay, he was a horrible human being, and he was a church unto himself, but, he could write. He could absolutely write. All right, he writes what they call a closet drama called Samson Agonistes. Closet drama does not mean closet as we know it today. It means that it was written never to be performed on stage, because Milton, being a Puritan, was against the theater. He was against a lot of things. So he grows, and God blesses him. And then there's this whole business, because even though the Philistines are the bad guys, Samson gets very chummy with the Philistines. he goes and he's walking down the road one day and he comes upon a lion. And does he fear the lion? No, he bops it over the head with a stick and puts it in a game preserve. That's the part I'm going to tell you. The part that the Tanakh tells is that he grabs its jaw, one in each hand, and rips it apart. The next time he's going by, it is kind of icky, he finds that a colony of bees have built a hive in the carcass of the lion. So he's on his way to hang with his Philistine buds, and they get to the part of the evening where they're all telling stories, and he says, I got a riddle for you. Out of the mighty came death, and out of the strong came sweetness. What am I talking about? Do you think they're going to get that? It's a terrible riddle because, frankly, there's no hint of what it should be. But he says, I'm referring to the lion. Then there's another incident where he bets on something and he loses the bet, so he has to give 30 shirts, linen shirts, to the guys who won the bet. And how does he get the linen shirts? He goes and he kills 30 Philistines, takes their clothing, and gives it to his friends. But now let's get to the business end of Samson, which you probably heard if you came to the morning minyan. Okay, well, Delilah. He has a habit of falling in love with Philistine women. He has a dalliance with a prostitute from Timnah. He has an evening with a lady from Gaza. And I think he hangs with somebody from Hebron as well. And I thought it fascinating that Hebron and Gaza, what are they? Are they peaceable places where Jews are welcome? No. So it all goes back to Samson. When he leaves Gaza, he takes the gates of the city, rips them out of the ground, and goes about his way. So he is very strong. And Delilah says, what is the secret of your strength? And he tells her off, he puts her off one way or another. He says, if I am tied with bowstrings that have not been dried, I will be weak. And she does that, and he rips off the bowstrings, and that takes care of that. But finally, she presses him and says, come on, Samson, tell me the secret of your strength. And he says, it's my hair. Right. If you cut off my hair, I'll be as weak as a child. So he goes to sleep, and what does that wicked, rascally Delilah do? Right. She cuts off his hair, he becomes totally weak, and this is kind of icky, frankly. She calls in the Philistine police, they blind him. It's not very nice. They take him prisoner. But the Philistines omitted one very important fact, which is what about hair? Yes, unless you're getting bald, which he is not. He's a young man. His hair grows back, and the Philistines have a big Sacco party in their temple. Their temple is Dagon. They used to think he was a merman, but now they say he's the god of Dagon, which means produce. Grain. And apparently it's not the best designed building because it's got a flat roof and the entire weight of the roof is on 2 pillars. And there's a little boy whose job is to guide Samson. And Samson says to the little boy, let me feel the pillars upon which the weight of the house rests. And he's standing there between the pillars. This is a fairly well-known tableau. And he says, dear God, I know I've been a bad boy, but please give me my strength back so that I can be revenged on the Philistines for the loss of my 2 eyes. He pushes with all of his might, he throws down the pillars, the roof crashes in, he dies, but he takes along with him several of his Philistine tormentors. And that's the story of Samson. It's very bittersweet. He makes a lot of mistakes. He is not the brightest fellow around. He probably takes after his father that way. but it's a story. Now, we don't know if any of these shoftim, any of these judges, any of these charismatic tribal leaders really existed. But somebody, somewhere, did something. And you know the way it is, because we've talked about this before. The more often you tell the story, what happens? Right, it's like the fishing story. The farther you get away from the fish, and pretty soon you're catching it by radio. So it's really very moving, I think. And I also believe that the Haftorah makes up for the Torah reading, because the Torah reading is yes. Oh, I have some agreement.
Do we know why Delilah cut the hair?
Delilah is again another controversial figure. I read in the commentary that we're not sure if she was a Philistine or she was just sucking up to the Philistines for some reason or other. But the beauty of these characters is that they are not one-dimensional. They are human beings with all of the fits and starts of personality that normal human beings have. And we don't know what motivates her. Okay? And ironically, after he's dead, she goes on. All right? She moves to Florida and takes a place in Palm Air.
Well, I mean, the Philistines as a nation, it's not the Palestine.
No.
Having to look, and many of them they finish converting to Judaism.
No. The Philistines convert to Judaism?
Many of them they were just.
Was it just to marry a Jewish girl?
Yeah, and then many of them we don't know what's happening.
Okay, I do have to say this, and I thank the cantor for it, because the coastal strip, because you know that Israel, despite not having oil, has all that beachfront property. And it's called Philistia. And by the time the Romans come along, they change the word Philistia to Palestina, and that's where the word Palestine comes from. But we don't know the origin of the current Palestinians. I'm not going to get into that right now. Okay? There's no answer for that one. Shabbat Shalom, good Shabbos. Thank you.
Good Shabbos.
Shabbos, 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 Shabbos. Soll sein jeden Shabbos. Shabbos, 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 Shabbos. Soll sein jeden Shabbos. Shabbos soll sein, Shabbos soll sein. Shabbos soll für ganze Welt. Sholem. Sholem, 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 Sholem. Soll sein jeden Sholem. Sholem, 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 Sholem. Soll sein jeden Sholem. Sholem soll sein, Shabbos soll sein. Shabbos und die ganze Welt. Glick, 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 glick. Soll sein jeden Glick, glick. Glick, 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 glick. Soll sein jeden Glick, glick. Glick, glick soll sein, Shabbos soll sein, Sholem soll sein. Shabbos und die ganze Welt. Okay. Let's say hello to Shabbat with the light.
We're going to light. Yes.
Galia,
Stephen, do you have a question?
come to light the candles.
Oh, we're gonna light
waving
the
hello to
candles.
Shabbat.
He was waving hello to Shabbat.
Yes, hello to Shabbat with the lights.
You gotta be careful with these high school teachers.
All right.
It's like the high holidays. Yes, okay. Galia and all the ladies.
Okay, we're going to have Ronnie and Tara light the candles, please. Thank you very much.
Shabbos.
How are you? Yes.
I didn't print this week's paper for the email.
You got the email, but you didn't get the.
I didn't get the email.
I saw it. Oops.
How are you?
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Very straight. All right, we wave our hands over the candles, we cover our eyes and sing the blessing.
Shabbos. Shabbos, my friend. Shabbos, sweetheart. Shabbos. Good to see you.
And now what Woody Allen used to say.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Yasharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Anochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boachenu Shalom, Malachei Yashalom, Malachei Kadosh Baruch Hu, Baruch Hu Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon.
Page 13.
Melech Malachei Amlachim, Kadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Page 14. 14.
Yedi the nefesh barachaman, Yedi the nefesh barachaman, Meshukav lecha, El retzolecha, Meshukav lecha, Yarai 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 Yarutz Avdecha Kemo Ayar Ishtachab Elai 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 Yarai Yarai Yarai
The Lechato D, page 21. Nobody said anything. You're supposed to say something.
Okay, לקראת קלה, בני בני שבת מקבלה, לך דודי, לקראת קלה, בני בני שבת מקבלה, לך דודי, לקראת קלה, בני בני שבת מקבלה, לך דודי, לקראת קלה, בני בני שבת מקבלה. שמור וסחור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל עמנו אחד, עולם אחד ושמור אחד, ושמו לתפארת ונתגלה, לך דודי, לקראת קלה, בני בני שבת מקבלה, לך דודי, לקראת קלה, בני בני שבת מקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו אליך, כי בקורה בדרכה, וראש מקדם לסוכה, סופה סבב במחשבה תישא לך דודי, לקראת קלה, בני שבת מקבלה, לך דודי, לקראת קלה, בני שבת מקבלה.
Page 22, please rise, face the doors to which the Sabbath king will enter.
בואי בשלום אתנה, גם לשמחה ולשמחה, דודי, לקראת קלה, בני שבת מקבלה, לך דודי, לקראת קלה, בני שבת מקבלה,
All right, let's move on to the Baruch Hu.
28
Page
is the
28.
page.
Okay. Let's see. Alan Toby, would you honor us by opening the ark? Yes. Okay. That's it. Okay. Sorry. Okay, the curtain opens by pulling it. There's nothing fancy.
Like Samsung.
Yes, very good.
That'll work.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Boed. Amen.
All right, the curtains are closed, please. As the curtains are closed, you may be seated.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר בדברו מרי ורבים בחוכמה פותח שערים, ובתבונה משנה עתים ומחלים את הזמנים ומסדר את הכוכבים במשמרותיהם הרקיע כרצונו. בורא יום ולילה גולל אור מפני חושך וחושך מפני אור. ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה. אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, עמני ורעי.
All right, let's read on the 29, the left-hand side, 3 paragraphs from the top, the secret things. We'll read this together. The secret things belong to Adonai our God. What is revealed belongs to us and to our children forever, that we may apply all the provisions of this teaching. Revelation does not deal with mystery of God, with a person's life as it should be lived in the presence of that mystery. This teaching is not beyond reach. It is not in heaven that you should say, who among us can go up to heaven and get it for us and impart it to us, that we may do it? No, the word is very close to you, in your mouth and in your heart, to do it.
Kiem chayenu veorek yameinu uvaimnege yomam halayla ve'avat kal tasim mimenu leolamim Baruch atah Adonai oefamon Yisrael.
Page 30, we cover the eyes for the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Cover the eyes.
Baruch Shem Kevod, Malchus Yoram Elohed.
Reading in the English, you shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. And these words which I command you this day you shall take to heart. Teach them diligently to your children. Recite them at home and away, night and day. Bind them as a sign upon your hand and as a reminder above your eyes. Inscribe them upon the doorposts of your homes and upon your gates. Please read silently the following paragraph. Also the seat paragraph on 31 silently.
למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם Adonai Elohechem Emet.
Page 32, middle of the page.
ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם משה ובני ישראל לכהנו שינה בשמחה רבה ואמרו כולם מלחמות אלוהים אדוני מי כמוך בוקע ים לבני משה, תני אנו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ולמרכיף אדוני יעקב, וגיהנום מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל.
On 33, we have, as is customary, the top left-hand paragraph. We'll go around and mention the names of people in need of healing. I spoke with Rosanny Lackman on the way here, and we're all wishing the best to Howard. Left a message for Laura. Also spoke with Yes, okay, let's go around and people mention the names of other people who need healing. For Shlema, nobody, yes. Oh, this is good, yes.
Nancy Austin,
For Shlema, before Shlema,
Lauren Maurer,
before Shlema,
Lisa Shapiro,
before Shlema,
Susan Hurley.
before Shlema. Okay.
Jerome Rader.
For Shlema,
Joe and Judy Kuznets,
for Shlema,
Arlene Carl.
for Shlema, yes.
Michelle J. Gomez and
For
Gary
Shlema.
D'Ambrosio.
Before Shlema, okay, yes.
Mandy Wexler,
Before Shlema,
Martin Baker, Pat Baker,
before Shlema,
and Ruth Gordon.
before Shlema,
James Bassmagian and Tim Ross.
before
Sorry.
Shlema. Yes,
He looked at me.
before Shlema.
Sorry.
Ty Castoria
Before Shlema,
and David Wistinghausen.
before Shlema,
Howard Elfman,
before Shlema,
Joel Shankman,
before Shlema,
and Karen Bennett.
before Shlema. Okay. And I just want to say we're also praying for the welfare of our fighting men and women out there in the Gulf of Arabia. Okay, let's read the English paragraph on the top left. Help us, Adonai, to lie down in peace, and awaken us again, our sovereign to life. Spread over us your shelter of peace. Guide us with your good counsel. Save us because of your mercy. Shield us from enemies and pestilence, from starvation, sword, and sorrow. Remove the evil forces that surround us. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings, O God, who watches over us and delivers us, our gracious and merciful ruler. Guard our coming and our going. Grant us life and peace now and always. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Praise to you, Adonai, who spreads the shelter of peace over us, over all his people of Israel, over Jerusalem and the entire world. Ufros aleinu suchat shlomecha, Baruch atah Adonai, Orei suchat shalom aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim, v'al kol ha'olam kulo. Amen. 34 is the Vishamru.
Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et Shabbat Nason et Shabbat le'dorotam le'rizotam Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et Shabbat Nason et Shabbat le'dorotam le'rizotam Meini Omer b'nei Yisrael Oti le'olam Oti le'olam Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et Shabbat Nason et Shabbat le'dorotam le'rizotam Sheshet yamim Asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et hashabat לעשות את השבת לדורות ולעולם. וביום השביעי שבת בי נפש, שבת בי נפש, שבת בי נפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות ולעולם.
Please rise for the half Kaddish, bottom of 34.
Hingala v'hikadash Shem Baba Amen Yad Madibra Kirute v'yamlik Malkute V'chayekon Yom Yomeichon U'chayekon Yisrael Ba'adam Ba'adam U'bizman Karim Imru Amen Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevorach Yom 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 Hayam Yisrael Meitnase, Meitanar, Meitale, Meitahalal, Shmele Kodeshah, Leila Minikol Minikata Veshiratat,
Yamidah, the standing silent prayer, 35b, and it concludes on page 38, after which you may be seated. Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Yalkol Israel, Yalkol Haolam. Say Shalom, Shalom Liloma, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Yalkol Israel, Yalkol Haolam. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Page 1? No, I was following you. Ah, okay. Because you have a lovely voice, you really ought to become a cantor.
Thank you. Page number 48. Kadish Shalem. Idgadar Vit Kadashem Ramah. Vialma Libra Kilude Amnik Malkute Vekay Kore Viamik Kore Vekay Kore Israel. Magana Vizmangani Meim Bro. Amen. Ishmei Rabam Mevorach. Leolam Me'alam Me'amaya. Yisborach. Marag Vishtabach Vitpar Vidroma Minase. Meitadar Vidar Shmei Kodeshah. Leila Mikol Mikata Vishirada Dushmekata Vikimada Yamar Mameim Bro. Amen. Idgaret Zlator Voto de Kol Israel Kalama Vod Mishmayamim Bro. Amen. Yeishla Marama Mishmaya Vekaimana Yamar Kol Israel Megim Bro. Amen. עושה שלום במרומה, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, ויעקב ישראל, יקדש ותבל, ויאמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומה, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, יעקב ישראל, יקדש ותבל,
Mazi, why do we do that Kaddish so fast? I mean, you're faster than I am, and I give you that. But what?
Why it's fast?
Yeah.
Because it comes the gift.
Oh, excuse me.
Real thing. This is the real thing.
Fake, I want the fake.
Wine?
Yes.
Juice, girl.
Are you a fast kidder?
Real juice.
Is it juice?
What's your hurry on that?
Give it to Lizzie. Well, it's with the juice. Where's the real?
I know, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna do
Yeah,
the
the
real
real
stuff.
All right,
Real
right, it's
stuff.
the real kid.
It's the real thing.
Me too, I'm gonna give you another one.
Alright.
Give you a broker over the head.
Careful.
Thank you. Liz, you got juice?
Thank you.
Again, we want to thank our dear friend Solomon Vaz Diaz for the contribution of these lovely bechers. He's in New York.
New York.
New York. Where the Jews are.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pri hagafen. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu, v'shamat kodsho.
Set it right in there.
Oh, drop it in.
Thank you.
That's one way.
What a year, what a year.
Yeah. It was last Tuesday, yeah.
I don't know which one is worse, the wine or the grape juice.
The wonderful vintage, Tuesday.
It's that good old Mogan.
We get a nice one.
Okay, I want to thank Mr. Stuart Pepper for being our choreographer tonight, cinematographer.
I don't dance. I don't dance.
I want to thank John.
That's an English teacher.
Yeah.
You may be seated. What else?
And I'm running out of battery, so move it
Not
along.
counting the owner tonight.
So fast, Rabbi, right?
I'm almost out of battery, so move it along.
We have to wait for the over like 358 days. Exactly. Okay.
Okay. All right, we're doing the Aleinu. Yes, the Aleinu, the ark is open. Okay, let's see. Joel, would you honor us by opening the ark? have that shirt. What color is that?
See that for one of those phones, I can check my
Yes,
phone
you
to
have to
yours,
do the
and recharge it.
Yeah, I forgot to bring my charger, so.
All right, we're doing the Aleinu eventually.
Battery was running down all the phones back because of the system.
Oh, says Gedula, El say, Bereshit, Shalom, Asanu, Goye, Arotzot, Velo, Samanu, Mishpachos, Adama, Shalom, Elkeinu, Gohem, Egor, Aleinu, Kechol, Nekorim, Mishtachavim, Umodim, Lifnei Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shamayim Yasser Haaretz, Shamayim Mimar, Shmirat Zol, Shmirat Zol, Begoken Elohim, Hu Eloheinu Echad, Emes Malkeinu Efes Ulazo, Kakatu V'Torato, V'Yatata Yom HaShemot, Elohecha, Hi Adonai Hu Elohim, Hashamayim Mima'al, V'Haaretz, V'Haaretz, Adonai, Lemelech al kol haaretz, Hayom hahu, Hayom hahu, Yeh Adonai echad, U'Shemo, U'Shemo,
That was the echo. If you're not saying Kaddish, Mourner's Kaddish, you may be seated. It's on page 52. Yitadal v'yitadash shemei Rabbah. Yalmad yivrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chayei chol v'yimei v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael. Agalau b'zman karev v'yimru amen. Shmei Rabbah v'orach li'olam v'le'olam. Yishbach v'yitzhar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudusha. V'elam in kol birchata v'shirata. V'shbachata v'nechamata. Damiran v'yalma v'yimru amen. Eish lama rabba min shemaya. L'chaim aleinu v'yal Yisrael. Oseh shalom v'bramal. Hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu v'yal Yisrael. Amen. This time we'll hear some announcements by our very lovely and talented temple president, Ms. Rhea Fleming Clark.
Good Shabbos, everyone. All my wonderful friends. Lovely to celebrate with you every week. And listen, just when you thought that July was going to be perfect, only because we're having a series of 3 lectures by our wonderful Dr. Murray Lichtenstein on July 11th, 18th, and 25th, Thursday evening at 7 o'clock. If you thought that was the only thing that's going to happen in July, on July 5th, we are, before our Shabbat service, Friday night, we're going to be celebrating July 4th. We are going to have a picnic dinner to celebrate the most wonderful country on earth. We'll include Israel, next to Israel. We want to celebrate that, so our July is going to be lovely. That's going to be Friday night, the 5th of July, probably about 6 or 6:30. We haven't determined yet, but join us for a picnic dinner. The month of August is yet to be determined as far as activities because we're very heavily into the high holiday preparations then. We are in it now. I know that you will be receiving your membership renewal package this week. Please be happy when you get it instead of being nauseous. We need you, Temple needs you, and both you and I need Temple. We need to be part of the Jewish community, of the smaller Jewish community of us, and the larger Jewish community of our country and of the world. But this is our spiritual home central, and we're so happy that we can be together both on Friday nights and on Saturday mornings. Tomorrow we're going to have a kiddush in honor of Father's Day, which has been prepared by our wonderful William. So all you dads and granddads and uncles, come tomorrow, please. Celebrate a traditional Shabbat service, and then you'll have a lovely kiddush afterwards to celebrate all those in your life, and maybe even some great grandfathers too. I'm not sure, but I think so. After the kiddush tomorrow, Rabbi's class is going to be.
Yes. Sorry. We were supposed to do Philo last week. We got so involved with what they call theism, belief in God. We didn't do Philo. We're doing Philo tomorrow, and I want to do some proofs of God's existence, which will build up and tear down.
All right. And then build back up.
Yeah, let's end on the up.
No, what I mean is, it's a matter of faith, not reason.
Right. Don't miss Rabbi's class. I can't say more than that. Don't miss Rabbi's class. His class also on Wednesday, 4:30 in Modern Hebrew, and 7 o'clock current events. And be on the lookout for Cantor Javier's class, which I'm not going to tell you about yet.
Yeah, it's true.
It's true.
I am not going to contradict the president.
You're right. It's true. And we're so happy to have Dalia with us today. That makes Shabbos all the more special. So I wish you all a sweet, sweet Shabbos, and I'm so happy that you're here.
Great. Thank you so much, Rita.